Today, we're jumping into one of the most clever, high-stakes scenes in all of Shakespeare's Macbeth. Think of it as a job interview, where the future of an entire country is on the line. This is Malcolm's test.
So, just listen to this. This is how Malcolm, the man who should be king, describes his own country. He's talking about Scotland like it's a person, bleeding out, getting a new wound every single day. Right off the bat, you know we're talking about a nation in pure agony.
The diagnosis is simple. Scotland is sick, poisoned by the tyrant Macbeth. But the cure? Well, that's a whole other story. The two men who could save it, Malcolm and Macduff, are meeting in England, but the whole thing is shrouded in distrust.
To really get why this meeting is so incredibly tense, we first have to understand just how bad things have gotten back home in Scotland.
You know, this isn't just a political problem, it's a human catastrophe. The language here is so raw. That repetition, new widows, new orphans, new sorrows, it paints this picture of suffering that never, ever stops. It's gotten so bad that even saying Macbeth's name is like a poison that blisters our tongues. This is the nightmare Macduff is trying to escape.
So you'd think Malcolm would be thrilled to see Macduff, right? Finally, an ally. But that's not what happens at all. Instead, what we see is a prince who is deeply suspicious of everyone.
And that's a really good question. Why push away the one person who might be able to help you? Well, Malcolm learned a very hard lesson when his father was murdered. Being too trusting gets you killed. And this caution, this suspicion, it's actually the first sign that he might have the wisdom that his father, Duncan, was missing.
Oh, and this is where the dramatic irony just gets painful. Malcolm is worried Macduff could be a spy for Macbeth. His reasoning? Macduff got out of Scotland without being harmed. But of course, we, the audience, know the awful truth. Macbeth's men are, at this very moment, slaughtering Macduff's entire family. He just doesn't know it yet. The tragedy is hanging right there in the air.
So, here's the bottom line. Malcolm can't just take Macduff's word for it. He needs proof. And to get that proof, he sets up this incredibly elaborate trap. A kind of moral stress test, really, to find out where Macduff's loyalty truly lies. Is it with the king, or is it with the soul of Scotland itself?
All right, so let's get into the test itself, because it is brilliant. Malcolm's plan is to pretend to be an even worse tyrant than Macbeth. He basically puts on the mask of a monster to see how Macduff will react. And believe me, he does not hold back. He claims he has three massive vices. First, he says his lust is so out of control that all the women in Scotland couldn't satisfy him. Second, his greed is so bottomless he'd steal land and jewels from his own nobles. And finally, and this is the real kicker, he claims he's so evil he'd make Macbeth look pure as snow. He is painting himself as the absolute worst-case scenario.
And this line, wow, it just shows you how far he's willing to go with this act. It's an unbelievably evil thing to say. He's claiming that if he were king, he'd take all the peace and harmony in the world, the sweet milk of concord, and literally pour it into hell. He's presenting himself as an agent of total chaos.
So here we are, the moment of truth. Macduff came here looking for a hero to save Scotland, and instead he's found a demon. So what does he do? Malcolm really pushes him to the brink here. He basically says, "This is me. You tell me, is a guy like this fit to be your king?" He's daring Macduff to make a choice. Will he settle for any king, even a monster, just to get rid of Macbeth?
And what's Macduff's first reaction? It's not about strategy. It's not about himself. It's just this cry of pure pain for his country. His very first thought is for Scotland, now trapped between the tyrant it has and the monster it might get. This is the first big clue that he's about to pass the test.
And there it is, the final answer. Macduff completely, totally rejects Malcolm. He says a man with those vices isn't just unfit to govern, he's not even fit to live. At this point, Macduff gives up all hope, saying he's now in exile forever. It is a moment of absolute despair.
And just like that, the test is over. Malcolm sees that Macduff's heartbroken reaction, his noble passion, is genuine. It proves that Macduff would rather have no king at all than a corrupt one. His loyalty isn't to a man, it's to the idea of Scotland. So now that the test is done, Malcolm finally reveals who he really is, and in doing so, he gives us a masterclass in what Shakespeare thinks a true leader should be. The mask finally comes off. On the left, you see the monster he pretended to be, and on the right, that's the real Malcolm.
He lists all the virtues a real king should have: justice, truth, courage, mercy. It's an incredible twist. He had to lie about being evil to prove he was actually good.
And here's why all of this is so important. Remember his father, King Duncan? A good man, but his fatal flaw was that he was way too trusting. He trusted the wrong people and it got him killed. Malcolm's suspicion isn't a character flaw, it's a strength. It's wisdom born from tragedy, and it proves he's finally ready to lead.
Now, to really understand Macduff's importance in this story, we've got to talk about this literary term really quick. A foil is basically a character who acts like a mirror for another character, making their qualities stand out even more.
And Macduff is the ultimate foil for Macbeth. Later, when Macduff finds out his family has been killed, his raw, gut-wrenching grief for his pretty chickens just throws Macbeth's monstrous cruelty into sharp relief. His real human emotion is the total opposite of the cold, ambitious plotting of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Every ounce of Macduff's integrity just makes Macbeth's evil look even darker. Which leaves us with one last big question. Macduff passes this test of character and proves his integrity is pure. But that moral victory is just the start. To actually save Scotland, that integrity now has to fuel a bloody, violent war. The scene perfectly sets up the final conflict, asking us, what does it really take to heal a broken kingdom? A good heart or a strong sword?